The Hockey Insiders is presented by Scores, where winning dishes are always on the menu. From our supremely delicious roast chicken and ribs to our famous salad bar. Always more at Scores.
You know, Lane Hudson makes it sound not that difficult, and hopefully that's how it plays out for the Canadiens. This is a big challenge, maybe the biggest so far. Let's bring in Marc Denis from RDS. Good morning, Marc.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing?
I'm doing well. Right off the hop, 2 weeks ago, we're talking about that matchup against Buffalo. You told us even before the playoffs started that was a matchup that you liked from the Canadiens' perspective.
Yep.
How do you feel about this one?
Better and better. Better as I dive into it. I mean, obviously, regular season success, everything starts from scratch. So you reset everything to zero and you start over. But still, I think it's an easier job to sell for the coaching staff to show how you were able to create odd number rushes, to break out, chipping pucks out. Tape-to-tape passes may not be there in transition as much as they were against Buffalo. You're just going to have to live with that. But there's always a counter to how aggressive a team plays. And there's no doubt that they're more than just a high-volume team, Carolina. I mean, everybody says that, and it's true. But they're more than just that. Yes, they create chaos in the offensive zone, but they're also a very in-your-face, go-hockey, aggressive team that creates races all over. And when they don't win those races, I mean, you have a Hurricane jersey right in your face. So there's a way to go around that, and that's having support, speed, and chips off the wall. And I think it's an easier job to sell. And then there's obviously this debate that's raging, which I think there are two easy answers that live in different worlds. In the overall picture, the big picture, there's no doubt. Advantage Carolina. They've played fewer games. They're healthy. But tonight, I think this goes out the wayside. I mean, you're ready to go. You're in a rhythm. You're the youngest team in the NHL, and this Carolina team has not faced adversity, intensity, and a caliber of opponent of the Montreal Canadiens since they started the playoff. That's no disrespect to Ottawa that had their chances, couldn't make them, and Philadelphia, which I think we'd all agree, they're a little bit like the Canadiens last year against Washington. I think they got to their end of their road by being a young team and making the playoff once. So I think there are opportunities there. So I'm liking the matchup more and more.
So in other words, you would be surprised then if you were to see the start of this game unfold the way it did when they opened the second round against the Buffalo Sabres, when you talk about rhythm and establishing your presence as soon as the puck drops on the opening faceoff.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just that. I mean, they changed their ways, right? The whole organization, players hated staying over in Tampa and having to go for like a week straight away from home. You don't sleep in your bed. You don't see your family when you're in the playoffs. The best way to recover is to come back. And they came back right after the game. They didn't get home too late. A lot of players and coaches had personal matters to attend, obviously. A full day off, beautiful day in Montreal, practice at the Bell Center. It feels like normal, right? It's normalcy in a hectic playoff run. So, they didn't succeed at first, and now they changed their ways. So I think they're going to be ready, much more ready, if you can be, for this game. It's not going to be a walk in the park. Nothing's going to be against Carolina, but I strongly believe that this was the right way to go about their business, and they did. So apart from everything that happened on the ice, I think they're going to be in the right frame of mind, is my point.
Yeah, it'll be a good team. They have a lot of skill. They have a lot of battle. So yeah, it's really going to be up to us. Bring our best, and obviously it's going to be a tight series, but we're excited.
There's Frederik Andersen, Carolina goaltender, with 13 goals saved above expected through 8 games in the playoffs so far. He's been unbelievable. We know he's struggled in the third round of the playoffs in the past. Those struggles are well documented as well, Marc. How do you want to see the Canadiens make life as difficult as it can possibly be for Freddie Andersen?
Well, the one thing that really they got a lot of success in Montreal is trying to get to the net to challenge Buffalo's D. I think they're going to have to do that against Carolina, but they're going to have to do that and take Freddie Andersen's eyes away. He's a big body. He's experienced. I think traffic keeps him close to the goal line. You improve your odds of shots coming through and getting by him. So I think that's one thing. Moving from side to side, hasn't been an issue for him in the first 2 rounds. He's been tremendous. Listen, 950 is ridiculous. Everybody expects this to go down. If it were to stay that way, I mean, don't vote. Just hand him the Conn Smythe. But I do believe that Montreal can definitely make his life tough by driving the net, which they've been good at, and by taking his eyes away. These are the first 2 steps I would take. And then you adjust and you go as the flow. I think that moving side to side has been an issue for him in the last few seasons. I haven't seen it in the playoffs. He's been tremendous that way.
It's funny when Connor and I at the top of this hour were breaking down the game and giving our picks at the end of the segment. I was talking about the heat maps, looking at the heat maps of Ottawa and Philadelphia, and how they managed to get their opportunities and ultimately, when they could, beat Freddie Andersen. There was a common theme sown between the two, and that was a lot of net front presence, which takes me again, looking at Oliver Kapanen and the way he managed to get to 22 goals. A lot of his goals came from directly in front or right around the front of the net. Walk me through, does he have a role in this series? We saw him play minimally in Game 7 in the clincher over Buffalo. Is this the guy that you would pencil in over someone like Veleno? Or if we're talking about net front presence, I mean, Brendan Gallagher can do that.
Yeah, Brendan Gallagher is definitely net front presence. The speed of this series could have me worried. I'm saying, I don't know. Canadiens made adjustments from Game 7 to Game 1 from Tampa to Buffalo. I don't know which adjustments they make here. I think Kapanen is ready to go. He had a chance early on, but if you're not going to have faith in playing him, what's the sense, right? That's the only thing I would say. As far as I'm concerned, I would stick with Kapanen, give him a little bit more ice time, see what happens if he can make anything happen. Wouldn't be a long leash. I wouldn't be very patient. Veleno can come in. I don't know his health status. That's the other thing, right? And then Gallagher can be an option. He was, a pretty big factor coming to series number 1. Maybe he is in series number 3. So these are all very good options. But as you said, just the net front presence. It doesn't matter for me where it comes from, but there needs to be one if you want to have success against Freddie Andersen and against, Makar being out, Colorado is still, to me, the best defensive group, like a group of defensemen, I should say. Carolina comes second, pretty close with Montreal here. I like their D. Just because we don't know Jalen Chatfield that much doesn't mean he's not good. He's really good. They're good. And the matchup between line number 1 and what Jacob Slavin's going to try to do 5-on-5, that could be a huge key to this series as well.
Chatting with Marc Denis ahead of Game 1 between the Habs and the Hurricanes tonight at 8 o'clock. We've got pregame coverage for you pretty much all day long here on TSN 690 until puck drop at some point between 8:10 and 8:15, I would expect. And, Nick Suzuki was singled out by Rod Brindamore during his media availability yesterday. He's talking about the Canadiens' best player, and part of the reason the Canadiens were able to have the success that they had against the Hurricanes. What about that Canadiens top line and the possibility or the need that they have for them to break through? Do you think it's any more likely now than it was in either of the last 2 rounds?
Sorry about this here. I'm getting calls here. We're getting ready for Canada and Norway for a meeting. Can you just come again? Sorry, Connor. Can you repeat that question, please?
Asking about your confidence in the Suzuki line's ability to be more effective 5-on-5 in this round than they've been in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, this is a huge key. Listen, they've been outscored 10-3, 5-on-5. They've been good defensively. Suzuki has kind of held his own in the face-off circle. He's very responsible, plays a penalty kill. There's no doubt there that Suzuki can be a factor even if he's not on the score sheet. I really liked what Cole Caulfield was able to do later in this second round. The pace and the fact that on-number rushes can happen against Carolina if you play your cards right, I think that can help Caulfield. Now, from an individual standpoint, what about Slavkovsky? Is he healthy? Can he give you more than that? I think there's more there. Trying to do too much is probably not the right idea and the right way to go about it. So I would say, there's an opportunity there to break out. I mean, this is going to be a matchup. The first line for Carolina hasn't really been hitting all cylinders either. So there's an opportunity definitely there for the first line. And as I said, this matchup, I'm thinking the hard matchup, they're probably going to see a lot of Jordan Staal and Martinook and Ehlers, but I think the hard matchup will definitely be with Jacob Slavin. That's where I would anticipate the hard matchup to be.
What about the other factor in this series that maybe tips the scales? I wonder, because I believe the Canadiens might have the edge in this. When we look at the physical presence, the heaviness of this series, I lean towards Montreal. Your thoughts on the physical edge? Does it belong in Montreal's corner? Can they, I don't want to be so dramatic as it, can they muscle their way through? But what about that impact in terms of the physical element of this series and how you see it playing out?
I'm with you. I don't think you're going to intimidate and you're going to get to Jordan Staal and Jacob Slavin. I think you get to a lot of players on that team. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying play that game, but I'm saying, like, they haven't faced that type of intensity. They've been 12 days away from any competition. Like, take it to them. Show them, like, you've played such a rough and tough series against Tampa. You were, obviously in a very tight affair against Buffalo. Like, just show them. Like, they haven't had that, right? And the one game in Ottawa, I don't know if they reacted really well. I mean, they lost Nikishin. I mean, obviously their special team works was so much better than Ottawa's was, and I think that's where that series ended up being a clean sweep. But there's definitely something on the physical aspect that Montreal can have the edge and will need to bring it. I mean, from the intimidation standpoint, Jordan Staal may have won the series 3 seconds in against Ottawa when he dropped the gloves against Brady Tkachuk. You don't have that on Montreal. So have the shoulder pads out, bring him out. Their D are pretty tough to hit. Let's be honest. They rarely have the puck. What they do is they flip a lot of pucks and create races in neutral zone. When you have that chance, Martin St. Louis calls it when you have a few freebies, please complete that hit in a hurry.
Anyone you're expecting to, if you got to pick someone to surprise, maybe not, sure, an Alex Newhook type impact on this series. Anybody in mind on the Montreal side?
Well, it's not going to be a surprise, but I'm expectant, and I think Montreal needs a breakout series from Caulfield. And I know it's not a surprise. He scored 51 goals. Like, don't get me wrong here. But I'm not saying it doesn't happen if he doesn't show up, because we've been saying that all along, and they're in the conference final, and the first line hasn't even been on the score sheet yet. What I'm saying is I think this can and will be a big series for Cole Caulfield. Okay. I know it's not a surprise, but I don't have anybody coming out of the, out of the weeds to surprise anybody else in that.
What about Demidov's chances? He had 10 shots on goal in the last 3 games of the Buffalo series. Looks like, he's gaining confidence as his team's playoff run goes deeper here.
Yeah, I mean, everybody here has an opportunity to make. I mean, this is tremendous at the moment it happens. Like, it's absolutely tremendous how this happens at this moment for the Montreal Canadiens, and everybody can have an impact. So, yeah, absolutely.
Quite a third period for Sidney Crosby at the World Hockey Championships on Monday against Denmark. Porter Martone, a goal and an assist. Macklin Celebrini, 2 assists as well. They have looked good. We've got coverage this morning on RDS starting at 10 o'clock. It's Canada-Norway at the World Hockey Championship.
Yeah, Canada, Norway, Slovenia tomorrow. We're really focused on the World Championships here, to be honest with you. This is fine-tuning. There's no doubt. And all the way up to the third period, there wasn't much going on against Denmark. Fresh off their loss last year, shocking loss in the quarters against Denmark. So it was a big mental hurdle for Misha Donskov's team. Now, they just got their first or their only 2 days off in a row from World Championships. I can't wait to see what they worked on. And they need to get going off the puck drop against Norway. I mean, this should be an easy back-to-back here against Norway and Slovenia. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a full lineup of NHL players, but it's all about, number one, and how you react. And they've figured out. I mean, Porter Martone has now been up on the first line. He's been tremendous with Celebrini and Crosby. They're pretty impressive. They need to get secondary scoring as well, and they have a lot of people that can do it. This is going to be part of it. I think they need to get their D more involved. Evan Bouchard plays a lot. Doesn't get much scoring chances. I would anticipate more from an offensive-minded defenseman. So I would like to see more. There's no doubt from their D. They need to get going. They'll figure out eventually who their number one guy is going to be. I haven't really cared so much for Jet Grease's first 2 games. Cam Talbot will most likely get the start today. He's got 5 shutouts in his last 8 World Championship starts. This could be the key. I mean, I know he's a veteran. I know they're looking at Greaves, who had a great season for Columbus, but it's interesting to see who's going to get the number one spot.
Switzerland 4-0, 22 goals for. Sven Andrighetto's got 8 points. He's tearing it up. I mean, obviously, the Group A is not. It doesn't look like a juggernaut, but impressive from the Swiss, isn't it?
Yeah, I talked this morning with a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, who's actually on the Swiss French TV there in Zurich. He's seen all their games. He says, "Listen, they're in a world apart. Them and Finland, and they're going to, cross paths in the very last game of the preliminary round." So it feels like in Group A, Finland and Switzerland are in the world of their own, and then there's a second tier with a young American team barely winning against Germany. You have others that can be in the mix. But in Canada's group, they've already beat Sweden. They're going to have to face Czechia, who doesn't really have their NHL roster. They're going to face Slovakia, who doesn't have an NHL roster. I'm not saying it's an easy World Championships, but Canada has a really, really good showing for an Olympic year.
Good. We'll be watching, Mark. 10 o'clock on RDS coverage begins. I believe puck drop around 10:20. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Cheers. Take care.
That's Marc Denis on the World Hockey Championships for RDS, and obviously with one eye on the Canadiens after a season on the charter and doing most of their games. Boy, we miss Mark and Pierre this time of the year.
A little bit.